Welcome back. And today we shall start with the next unit, that is democratic decentralization one. It talks about local self-governance, and the first chapter talks about Panchayati Raj. So before we venture into the text of the book, let us try to analyze what is the need of third tier, that is Panchayat. And Panchayat, it's not there in the book. You can note it down that there is this Article 243. Now, Article 243 is the lengthiest, even the bulkiest article in the Constitution. It stretches up to 243ZZ, and the Panchayat path is restricted till Article 243O. Beyond Article 243O is mention of municipalities. So, Article 243 to Article 243O in the Indian Constitution mentions Panchayat. Now, the question here is, when we already had a federal structure, when I say federal structure, it means government in respective states, the state government elected in Vidhan Sabhas, and a central government elected in Lok Sabha, which is sitting in Delhi. So when we already had a two-tier government, according to the federal structure, what was the need of the third tier, that is Panchayat and municipalities, Panchayat in villages and municipalities in urban areas? Now, try to understand this, that India is a very big and a very complex country. Why complex? Because it's not a monolithic entity like Europe, comparatively less complex, because Europeans are more or less similar in terms of religion, in terms of practices, but India is not so. Languages are different, religions are different, castes are different, regional preferences are different. So that is what makes India a very complex country. And that complex country cannot be run, cannot be managed by Delhi. One government of India sitting here in New Delhi cannot take care of all the districts of India. So there were state governments, but still there are many far-flung places in a state as well. Like, for example, I'll give you, Hyderabad is a very good city and a very planned and a very beautiful city. It has historic importance. It has so much of IT and everything. But then there must be places in your state like Vanaparthi, Adilabad, Guntur, Kurnool. So these places are not as developed as Hyderabad. Now, people from these places, the remote areas, the far-flung villages, they cannot come every day to Hyderabad to take care of all their needs and to address all their grievances. So there will be a governance deficit in these areas. That is why it was felt that let us devolve some power from states, from the capitals to the far-flung areas, to the villages. Let them take a call on what they want to do. A one size fit all model won't work for India. So let the state capitals not decide on everything, what every district and every village wants, but instead they should decide for themselves. And through the 73rd Amendment, which was passed by former Prime Minister Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, the 73rd Amendment was passed and panchayats came into existence. So now let us try to see what this text tell us. And this is the third unit that mentions your new module, local government and administration, and the chapter deals with Panchayati Raj, as I said. So typical sixth class textbook deals with lovely cartoons and very live illustrations. So without going into all these kiddish stuff, let us try to analyze what is important for us, what is useful for us. So the first thing that comes here is Gram Sabha. Now let me read this. Gram Sabha is a meeting of all adults who live in the area covered by a panchayat. This could be only one village or a few villages. Now that depends on the size of the village. If the village is really small, then there will be a combination of 2 to 3 to 4 villages, and there will be one panchayat for these 2 to 3 to 4 villages. But if any village has a sizable context, then it will have a panchayat on its own. So in some state, as in the a village meeting is held for each village, anyone. Now, who votes into the panchayat? Again, the same voting criteria, 18 years and above. So Gram Sabha and Panchayat, two things we come across here. Now let us try to understand what these two things are. What is a Gram Sabha? Is the question that this chapter intends to answer. So Gram Sabha is the third most or the third tier of administration, we can call it. Like central government in Delhi, state government in capital, and Gram Sabha or Gram Panchayat at the village level. Now, what it does, you see what Gram Panchayat does. Gram Panchayat meets regularly, and one of its main tasks is to implement development programs for all villages that come under it. And in some state, Gram Sabha forms committees like construction and development committee. These committee includes some members of Gram Sabha and some from Gram Panchayat. Now we come across two things here, Gram Panchayat and Gram Sabha. So more or less, let us try to understand this line. The Gram Sabha is a key factor in making the Gram Panchayat play its role and be responsible. It is the Gram Sabha. It is the Gram Sabha that elects Gram Panchayat. Okay, Gram Sabha consists of all 18 plus people residing into that village. They will cast their vote to elect what is known as Gram Panchayat. So, in other words, we can say that Gram Panchayat is accountable to Gram Sabha and Gram Sabha elects Gram Panchayat. This is the concomitant relation between the two. And here again, it is beautifully explained here. The Gram Sabha prevents the Panchayat from doing wrong things like misusing money or favoring certain people. It plays an important role in keeping an eye on the elected representative and in making them responsible to the persons who elected them. Again, the basic essence of democracy is being observed here at the third tier, that those who have elected the people are asking questions and making sure that they do not misuse the powers or the resources that have been allotted to them. So until unless it was done at the lowest level in the villages, democracy could not have really succeeded in India. And first time Gram Panchayat was formed was in 1959 in Nagaur district of Rajasthan. Andhra Pradesh followed suit, your state, and it was same year, 1959. But then there was no constitutional obligation on any of these states. If Andhra Pradesh and Rajasthan did, they did on their own. The state governments did on their own. Now, post 73rd Amendment, it is a constitutional obligation. It is the responsibility of all the state governments to conduct panchayat elections, and make sure that villages elect their panchayats. Earlier, it was voluntarily, and there was certain one more thing I would like to tell you, that there were certain discrepancies regarding the role of panchayats when the constitution was being made, because the main architect of the Indian constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, was never in favor of panchayats. Now it might sound strange to people. Many students are like, how can it be possible? The reason is that Dr. Ambedkar was convinced that panchayats are laced with rigid caste fault lines. He was not wrong. He was absolutely right. Because he was talking about in 49, 1950, 1951. So countryside, these caste hierarchies were really very strong. They still are, but not as strong as they were in 1949 or 1950 or 51. So Dr. Ambedkar rightly said that the dominant caste that depends on the village and which caste is playing a dominant role in that very village. It's not like one caste is dominant in all the villages of India. So he said that these dominant caste will do everything, and the poor, the depressed caste, they will not get their due. So let us not go with panchayats. But Gandhiji was quite sure that we need panchayats, and despite that is why there were the constitutional obligation was the constitutional mandate arrived very late in the decades of 90s, because Dr. Ambedkar had his reservations, and from 90s till 2020 we have come a long way. There are several feats that the panchayats have achieved, which we shall see later on. So Gram Panchayat meets regularly, and one of its main tasks is to implement development program for all villages that come under it. As I told you that it depends on the size of the village. And in some states, Gram Sabha form committees like construction and development committees. These committees include some members of Gram Sabha and some from the Gram Panchayat who work together to carry out specific tasks. Now, see this lady, two village punch. There are two people, one man and another woman, and who were awarded the Nirmal Gram Puraskar in 2005 for the excellent work done by them in their village. Now, what is this Nirmal? See the initiative, how panchayats act as a motivation. And what happened was, let me put them in center because they have achieved this feat. What happened was, long before Modi ji became Prime Minister of India, there was this program run by the erstwhile government, Bharat Nirman. And one of the component of Bharat Nirman was making, areas open defecation free. When Modi ji became Prime Minister, he gave his own impetus to it in the form of Swachh Bharat. And of course, Swachh Bharat has done many remarkable stuff, and much needs to be done. Having said this, much needs to be done. So this earlier program, which was brought by the Congress government, Bharat Nirman, it aimed at open defecation free. Let us make our villages open defecation free. Like right now, we are striving it through the Swachh Bharat program. So what they did, it was observed that it is very difficult because people in countryside, they are not used to using washrooms. So panchayats were monitored and they were incentivized. And it was told that a panchayat which becomes open defecation free would be given award. So these two people receiving award way back in 2005. And that would encourage other panchayats that so and so panchayat has become open defecation free, and they have been called to Delhi. They met the Prime Minister. He praised them. So that was a big achievement. So it had a cascading effect, a domino effect. The other panchayats also started, to make efforts. And because of this effort, Sikkim became the first Nirmal state of India. Sikkim is also the first organic state of India. They don't use the chemical and fertilizers in agriculture. So these factoids would be really handy in later on when you will study these things in some other part other than polity. So of course, see how the role of panchayat I'm trying to emphasize here, that one panchayat doing something affects all the panchayats in the state and the village. So what happens here is that they look after the local problem, and there is this sarpanch, the panchayat president, who heads the panchayat. And sarpanch is assisted by people who are elected from the Gram Sabha. And there are different levels also, like just we would see here, it is here, yes. See, in rural areas, the Gram Panchayat is the first tier or level of democratic government. Now, Gram Panchayat is the first tier, which means that there are other tiers as well. Now, what are the other tiers? There is this, it is written here, the Panch and Gram Panchayat are answerable to the Gram Sabha. Now, there are several Panch. Please try to understand this. Like Gram Sabha elects the Gram Panchayat. Now, this Gram Panchayat is divided into several Panch. There is another word for it, ward, W-A-R-D, ward. So these wards have Panch. Okay, I'll give you an analogy. You are sitting in a class. Visualize yourself sitting in a class, and that class has 50 students sitting in 5 rows, 5 columns. Okay, 5 columns, vertical columns, 50 students in 5 columns. Now, which means every column has 10 students. Now, every column elects a leader, that on behalf of these 10 students, one person will be the leader. So we will have how much? We will have 5. And these 5, let us call them punch, and these columns as wards. So these 5 wards or these 5 punch will now elect the sarpanch. I hope this is clear. These 5 punch elected from their respective wards will now elect the sarpanch. Now let us try to understand this. Uh, First tier or level of democracy, the Panch and the Gram Panchayat are answerable to the Gram Sabha because it is the member of Gram Sabha who elected them. Of course, the idea of people's participation in Panchayati Raj system extends to other 2 levels. As I told you, Gram Panchayat is the third level, the lowermost. There is another thing. See, there is this block level. Now, what is block? Lowest level we have villages, and many villages come together to form block. Many blocks come together to form district. Okay, so there are 3 levels. So at block level, which is called Janpad Panchayat or Panchayat Samiti, and Panchayat Samiti has many Gram Panchayat under it, of course, because I told you that several villages or several panchayats come together to form a block. Therefore, Panchayat Samiti has many, and Panchayat block is represented by Panchayat Samiti. Just like Gram Sabha is the representative body of Gram Panchayat. So, uh, Panchayat Samiti has many Gram Panchayat, and above there is another third tier that is called District Panchayat or the Jila Parishad. Now it depends on the state. In some states it's called Jila Parishad, in some states it's called District Panchayat. So 3 levels. Number 1, district. Number 2, block. Number 3, villages. Okay. At the top is Jila Parishad or the District Panchayat at the district level. Then at the block level, there is Panchayat Samiti or Janpad Panchayat. At the village level is Gram Panchayat. This you have to remember, and here in this paragraph it is well explained and we have elaborated it also. So Jila Parishad is the one which takes call, and they have to uh, work in tandem, work together with Panchayat Samitis and Gram Panchayats. So that is what is written. The Jila Parishad actually makes development plans at the district level, and with the help of Panchayat Samitis, it also regulates the money distribution among all Gram Panchayats. Within the guidelines given in the constitution, each state in the country has its own laws with regard to Panchayat. See, Panchayat is largely decided by the state government. The idea is to provide more and more space for people to participate and raise their voice. Again, as we discussed earlier, that it is a way to empower people at the lowest level. Gandhiji always favored Panchayat. He said that real India is in the villages of India. And if villages don't empower themselves, the idea is to generate something meaningful in villages. See, few things that I would like to I would like to talk apart from what is given in this chapter. That in villages, almost all villages, whether it's South India or North India or any other part of India, the chief source of revenue for a long time in villages has been agriculture. And agriculture, as you know, is not a 12-month process. So what happens? These farmers comes to cities and they become laborers. They start working in construction works, metro project is going on, smart cities project. So that is not very remunerative. Why it is not very remunerative? There is this famous report which says that urban poor are more vulnerable than the rural poor because the cost of living is high. In cities you have inflation. In villages, if you don't earn much, you don't have to spend much. But that does not apply to villages, and that not apply to cities. So in order to keep these people in their villages so that it does not result in a huge scale migration to cities, the villages must be empowered enough to generate something which would be remunerative for the villagers. And that is why state governments at times devolve certain taxes to the panchayats. I repeat, state governments devolve. Devolve means that I give it to you. I would have collected that, but then I'm the state government, you are the panchayat. I'm asking you to collect these taxes on my behalf. So, and then panchayat can also raise their own taxes. However, the economic survey of 2018 said that 95% of taxes raised by panchayats are the one devolved by the state government, and they are able to raise taxes on their own to just 5%. of the total tax. So these were not very encouraging signs. Panchayats are at times running short of money. We will discuss these things in great details when we will study the 73rd Amendment. Now, just an elementary introduction has been provided to you. What is Panchayat? What are the three tiers of Panchayat? How the Panchayats are elected? What is the work that they do? Main work is to see the local welfare, like something related to agriculture, something related to water supply, maintenance of roads, and small revenue generation, looking after the cooperatives, the self-help group, the women empowerment, dairy products, maybe agriculture and allied activities. So this is what is the main work of the panchayat. So that is all that we have discussed today. We'll meet again and we'll proceed with the further chapters. Take good care and happy studying.